Hello, everybody. We've hit over 30 participants, so I think we can jump right in. Welcome, everyone. A warm welcome from UNDP's Independent Evaluation Office. We're very happy to see everybody today for this fantastic webinar on shaping the future of work through digital livelihoods. It's a very hot topic, and we're thrilled to have a distinguished panel of experts here with us today. Our own Anna Debkunova will present the reflections paper based on past evaluations. Then we have Cem Bayrak, portfolio manager from UNDP Turkey, and Saleh from Bangladesh, who is an M&E analyst there, who will be presenting the Bangladesh experience. And after that, we'll have a Q&A and discussion with all of you. And we're also joined by two experts, Dinah Sorensen from UNDP's Social Protection Team and Zulum Avila, Employment Specialist in Digital Strategies at the ILO. So welcome, everybody, and we'll jump right in with Anna's presentation on reflections from past evaluations on shaping the future of work through digital livelihoods. Anna, you have the floor.
Thank you, Tina, and hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm very pleased to share with you what we have learned about digital livelihoods and how they are shaping the future of work. As digitalization accelerates, it brings enormous potential for economic empowerment, innovation, and inclusion. At the same time, it raises questions about who actually benefits and who is excluded, and how we can make the digital economy work for everyone. Next slide, please. UNDP supports digital livelihoods in several ways that are complementary. First is digital education and skills training. That's a major area of UNDP programming across regions. Second is digitally enabled local work, which is a moderately prominent area often linked to climate, green economy, and livelihoods. Third is digital entrepreneurship support, which is a continuously growing field. And the last one is platform and remote work, which is an emerging area, but with some promising pilots. Beyond these areas, UNDP also works at the systemic level, strengthening institutions, policies, and national digital strategies. So to learn what works and what does not in these areas, we reviewed over 70 evaluative reports, reviews, and also good practice documents, not only from UNDP, but also from the ILO and UNHCR. From this wealth of evidence, we identified 7 key lessons. The first group of lessons, particularly lesson 1, 4, and 6, focuses on the importance of wider enabling environment in building digital ecosystems. The second group of lessons, that's mainly lessons 2 and 5, focuses on inclusion in digital economy, which is another important topic there. They talk about closing the digital gap and addressing specific barriers faced by women and other groups that are at risk of being left behind. And finally, lessons 3 and 7 bring us to the new frontier of digital work, things like online freelancing and AI digital enabled jobs. So all of these lessons are available in the paper, and I'll now proceed with presenting you 3 of them, which I found the most interesting. Next slide, please. So the first lesson I would like to talk about focuses on supporting micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. These are rural producers, artisans, and home-based businesses. UNDP has supported their digitalization to help them, for example, access new markets, work more efficiently, and strengthen their economic resilience. Evaluations show that one of the UNDP key strengths in this has been localizing e-commerce solutions and developing digital platforms tailored to MSMEs. One of such very successful platforms was built in Bangladesh, and we will learn more about it shortly from Saleh. Overall, evidence suggests that these successful initiatives shared several features. They embedded the e-commerce platforms within broader digital ecosystems. They linked them, for example, with payment systems, logistic networks, and various government services. So basically, these platforms were not just standalone tools. Second, they aligned closely with national digital strategies and involved strong government engagement. This helped to ensure scalability and sustainability beyond the project lifecycle. Third, they adapted to local realities. That means that in many contexts, they used low-cost and familiar tools such as WhatsApp or Google Sites, and they lowered the entry barriers for small businesses. And finally, they invested in long-term capacity building, such as in digital literacy, business management, and marketing skills, so that MSMEs could meaningfully participate in digital trade. However, we also see that the digitalization alone was not enough to support MSMEs. When they faced deeper market challenges, such as weak value chains or poor product viability or branding issues, digital tools by themselves could not address these gaps. So in short, digital transformation worked best when it was a part of broader MSME support. Next slide, please. The next lesson I'd like to share is about digital platforms that connect clients and workers for short tasks or longer projects. While supporting this is still a niche area for UNDP, the evaluations show great examples of how such platforms can enhance economic empowerment, especially for vulnerable groups, such as people living in crisis contexts, persons with disabilities, and others. So clearly, it's a very promising practice. At the same time, and that's what this lesson highlights, ensuring adequate, quality, and predictable work through these platforms remains a major challenge. So this is true even when people have the basic enabling conditions, such as access to devices, reliable internet, adequate digital skills, and financial services. It's because many platforms require formal documentation or work authorization, which excludes those without credentials. And even when people are already registered at these platforms, there's a strong competition for available gigs, and workers with limited experience and without professional support networks might be left out. And that's even more important. Platform work often operates in gray regulatory spaces, where workers may have unclear contracts, unstable pay, and limited or no access to insurance or dispute resolution. So to address these challenges, the most effective programs took several approaches. Some of them combined digital skills training with direct job matching, onboarding, and extended mentorship, so to help job seekers to navigate and succeed in platform work. Other initiatives supported the creation of locally adapted platforms that are easier to access and offer decent working conditions. This is a very interesting line of work, and I'm looking forward to Cem from UNDP Turkey telling us more about their experience in this area. In parallel, the ILO has done excellent work helping countries such as Kenya and Uganda strengthening their national frameworks and labor standards. And they engaged with platform operators to promote fair, safe, and sustainable digital work. And the next slide, please. So the final lesson I'd like to talk about is about artificial intelligence. That's an emerging frontier of UNDP work now. Across UNDP programming, we see initiatives using AI to automate tasks that were previously difficult to streamline, such as responding to queries and improving communication flows. There are also pilots using it for knowledge management, real-time insights, and decision support. This area is still very new, so there are only a limited number of examples of specific AI use in digital livelihoods. These examples emerge especially in several areas from what we saw in evaluations. There's AI-enabled digital work, which is micro-tasks such as data annotation and dataset labeling. So this kind of work technically doesn't use AI system, but kind of feed into them. I'm mentioning it here because it's becoming a growing livelihood opportunity in low and lower middle income countries. Second, AI is being integrated into digital skills training, helping to build awareness and preventing so-called AI divide. Third, AI tools are leveraged to analyze labor market trends, forecast future skills demand, and inform policy frameworks. And finally, AI is starting to be used within digital job matching platforms, helping people to profile skills, generate CVs, and connect job seekers to trainings and employment opportunities more effectively. I'm sure that there are more applications being piloted as we speak, but they haven't made it to evaluation stage yet, so they are not part of this. While these are promising developments, we can't yet see the broader implications of AI for decent work and inclusion and sustainability. So this underscores the importance not only of continued experimentation, but also monitoring and robust evaluation. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for your attention. And I would now like to ask Cem to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Anna. Hello, dear colleagues. As Anna mentioned during the presentation, I will be trying to explain some lessons learned from one of our initiatives focusing on digitalization in the rural areas. It is what's called Villages of Tomorrow. So actually, I will be referring to lesson 3, 4, and 7, but the focus will be more on lesson 4 actually. But anyway, in terms of lesson 3, which is unlocking inclusion through platforms, I would like to say that local businesses, particularly those without limited access to digital infrastructure and skills, usually can benefit more in responding inclusion in their in aspects such as employment and entrepreneurship. So we aim to digitalize local businesses in the countryside to increase inclusion and also particularly to increase the added value and to enable more profit to the producer by eliminating the intermediaries using digital platforms and also some networks. It may not be just digital platforms, of course. So first, we encouraged local entrepreneurs, which are basically rural women, rural young people, farmers, and that sort of people. Also, we had a lot of cooperatives in our case. Actually, in 2017, the government provided huge support to establishment of cooperatives, but most of them, unfortunately, couldn't sustain their operation because of lack of sustained incentives. So we tried to first encourage through best practices sharing of success stories, such target groups, including logistics, packaging, marketing, determination of the price of their commodity, and how to access the end user actually. So after that, we can say that in the rural areas, people usually don't have such equipment, like basically computers, and in some cases, internet connection. We established digital hubs. They are not so expensive hubs, just some internet cafe sort of things in some cases. But just having some architectural aesthetic, we were able to host some people to spend their time in the village, like little nomads. What we did was designing designing an establishment which might be an unutilized or underutilized pre-existing establishment with some architectural touches. We created small establishments, like modern establishments that you can find in any major city. So it led us to create an environment of collaboration and innovations, because that place enables people to meet, including producers and instructors, ecosystem enablers, and that sort of thing, even us in some cases. So we can say that replacing unnecessary intermediaries through digitalization increases producers' profitability, which enable them to earn more money from their production, and actually they can allocate such resources further investment. We are not talking about huge monies, just about resources that can ensure sustainability of their small businesses. We can pass to lesson 4. So basically, we can clearly say that e-commerce and developing an ecosystem like a value chain with a value chain approach quickly enables the development. Actually, I can say, as Anna mentioned, it's not a quick fix, both in terms of AI and e-commerce or other key enabling technologies. First, what we did was we met all the actors in pilot applications. There are not so many actors as we focused on rural areas. There are some politicians, some like the richer farmers, some teachers at the rural schools, and of course the rural population itself, women staying at their houses, and children attending schools on a daily basis. So we designed tailor-made capacity building and awareness raising activities. I can say that as we had a donor which is flexible, it was not a donor like EU or other global funds with very strict rules. It enabled us to take a focus on each of the target groups with a tailor-made approach. So, for instance, the company of fertilizers, which was just a traditional business, now tried to begin to both purchase and sell its product to the both local and in a much national customers or people who provide those chemicals or fertilizers, increased efficiency. It led to another increase in the production area of the farmer, as an instance. So that as we focused not only to individuals, but with a more holistic systemic approach, the ecosystem has become self-sustaining, actually. So we can take a lesson from here that a value chain based or ecosystem based approach is more efficient than isolated interventions. We can continue with the lesson 7 in the next slide. Actually, at the moment, we have limited information on lessons learned from leveraging AI for inclusive employment with this initiative, but we have been working on another EU-funded initiative, which called Today's Youth Future Jobs. We are actually acquiring a lot of lessons learned. We are facing some mistakes, some misinformation, some misalignment of skills or agenda with the local partners. But as it's not subject to this report, I hope I will mention that those in following years. So actually, we focused on in such case, which is not directly fitting to this lesson, maybe, but we focused on students at high school, mostly on vocational high schools. We just delivered them AI training, like language models, design of visual material, and in a case, a student from a high school, there was another business of a local textile producer employing 3 people from the village. They were trying to have a model using their products to make it more visible or more attractive. The student from high school just adopted AI-based visual graphic design techniques, and just without no model, it put those products on a virtual model, and which is actually now in use as an instance. So we focused on young people in this initiative, actually, because they will be employed most probably most of them will not attend university or college, just keep working on the farms or some small businesses in the nearby district or in some industrial zone nearby. It enabled them to have access to these skills because the school, despite it has AI in their agenda, they didn't have those teachers or the equipment needed. We intervened in this area and we literally trained all the students in the high school, and some of them are actually employed in some companies. A few of them started their own businesses. We will see if they can sustain on that. What we can have take away from here is that if we can enable equal access to technology in the rural and of course the disadvantaged populations, we can unlock untapped potential and generate inclusive income in the rural areas. I'm sorry if I took it long, and thank you. I suppose I'm giving the floor to Saleh.
Thank you, Chairman. Safe travels. Chairman has to be off. He's at the airport, actually.
Yeah, I need to catch a flight. Thank you.
Over to you, Saleh.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, colleagues. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, colleagues. Like everyone, depending on where you are from attending this webinar. So it's a pleasure to share some of the key lessons we have learned from Bangladesh in our journey in terms of advancing digital livelihoods. So our experience shows that the digital transformation is not just about only technology, but it's about catering opportunities, building inclusive systems, and unlocking the potentials of people who were previously left behind. So with the examples, can we move to the next slide? Yes, so in terms of digital works, one of our biggest takeaways is that digital work can be a powerful tool for social and economic inclusion, but not if the right ecosystem is in place. So ecosystem is mandatory. And particularly in this case, we will focus on one of the ecosystem that has been developed by our Aspire to Innovate previously, access to information program. So there are three phases. Those were connected citizens to services and digital jobs. So there are four aspects. One is access to skills, access to market, access to finance, and access to services. So including all this is entire ecosystem that has been developed in collaboration with the Prime Minister's office then, and then to the ICT division within this Minister of ICT. And this project has, UNDP within the help of this project has managed to establish more than 8,800 digital centers that creates access points for freelancing and micro entrepreneurship and women-led businesses, mainly in rural areas where opportunities were previously scarce. And the lesson that we have learned from here is technology alone isn't enough. So whole of government approach combined with the strong institutional ownership is essential to creating an enabling environment where digital livelihoods can flourish sustainably. And that's because of that, in terms of achieving that goal, UNDP in collaboration with the ICT division and chief advisors of its right at this moment are working on this journey. So can we move to the next slide? Yes, in terms of lesson 4, the lesson is that digital livelihoods thrive when skills, market access, and financial systems are interconnected. And the example is X-Shop, one of the part of the ecosystem which connected more than 20,000 MSMEs to both national and global markets. And there are other smaller initiatives within this UNDP Bangladesh in this country through other different initiatives, but I'm not going to details of those because this is particularly from the evaluation that has been conducted for the HOI. And this project has also managed to work on like creating digital business IDs. Basically, this was a pilot initiative, and after this pilot initiative, this has been already been transferred to the Ministry of Commerce in collaboration with the ICT. So this will the aim of this particular initiative is that the online payment solutions uh, that will significantly lower the barriers for the particularly for the rural entrepreneurs. So this particular business idea will help the rural entrepreneurs to accessing all the payments and the finances from like in the periphery of this country. At the same time, like online academics under this program has trained over more than 100,000 entrepreneurs in digital literacy and business management. So, like that shows the capacity building is just as crucial as technology as well. Because if there is no capacity, and if we want to um, acquaint them with the like technology, that will not work. So we have to like link between all of those. As I was saying earlier, like the program is working on the four fronts: access to skills, market, and finance and services. So those are interconnected, and most of the initiatives that has been taken by these programs are interconnected as well, so that from one place to another, people doesn't require to move into different places, like the digital center. So every solutions are there. So the lesson is that these platforms become like truly impactful when they have embedded in a broader ecosystem. Like when skills, finance, regulations, and market access work together. So the initiatives move beyond pilot projects and deliver real scalable results. So that is here we have seen particularly for this project. Can we move to the next slide? Yes. So the third lesson is about like how artificial intelligence can help bridge the gap between the skill supply and the market demand. Although this is not like the area where we have done that much, but in terms of integration of artificial intelligence, particularly another project funded by Grameen Phone, a sister concern of Telenor Corporation. So the Future Nation project is currently working on this area, but the initial foundation was led by the A2I project, and there, like through this niche, we call it a nice platform, like this supported like using the AI-driven analytics to match the youth profiles with industry needs. So the demand can meet the supply. So that has been done with the match profiling, and that resulted in encouraging 250,000 users. Those have been enrolled in this platform, and 12% of job placement. And there was knowledge transfer as well. So like say, for example, this nice platform has already been replicated in the Jordan and Somalia. And there are like a couple of awards had been provided to this AWA program for transferring knowledge in terms of leveraging AI, particularly in terms of inclusive employment and scaling the NICE platform. But perhaps the most important insight here is that the technology works best when it is human-centered, interoperable, and backed by strong policy like alignment. So that combination is what ensures solutions are inclusive, scalable, and sustainable. To conclude our experience in Bangladesh, like the digital transformation, particularly for livelihood, is most successful when it is inclusive by design and supported by the strong systems and is being owned by the government. Because at the end of the day, if it is not owned by the government, then the sustainability of that particular initiative will be at stake. So it's not just about building like platforms, it's about connecting skills with opportunities, linking entrepreneurs with the market, and using technology to remove barriers. And it also required that demand and supply meets the needs of that particular time when we are working on that. And definitely like partnerships across government, private sector, development partners are critical in driving these changes, particularly in terms of uh, leveraging AI. So I will stop here, and if there is any follow-up questions or something, definitely we will happy to respond to that. Thank you so much for your patience, Seri.
Thank you so much. Thanks to our three speakers, Anna, Cem, and Saleh. This has been very informative and really encouraging to see the results that you achieved in including left behind populations in the digital economy, and also how really frontier work has been done, like AI-driven job placements. So really fantastic work going on. Colleagues, this is where all of you come in. Please start populating the chat with your questions. Be prepared to unmute. And while you think about your questions, I'd like to invite Dinah and Zulum to share with us their observations on what we just heard, any reflections on the topic of shaping the future of work through digital livelihoods. Over to you, Dinah, first, and then Zulum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tina. Thank you, Anna, Cem, and Saleh for your great presentations today. Maybe taking starting where Tina left off, more of on this idea of the future of work. It almost feels like sometimes we think of the future of work predetermined, like it is sort of like out of our control. But I think probably one key element that I want to highlight is that we have a role and we have a responsibility to shape that future of work by the way we design policies, the way governments regulate, and of course the way that digital transformation is scaled. So I want to emphasize that quite a bit, that it is not something that it is out of our control, but we have a responsibility and a role in the way we shape digital transformation, of course, in support of people and our societies. One key element that came across very clearly is that digital livelihoods don't necessarily succeed because of technology alone. Technology is not sufficient for digital livelihoods, right? They require some kind of alignment between the various systems. And here I have in mind digital infrastructure, of course, legal and institutional frameworks, skill systems, etc. These pieces have to work together, right, to support digital livelihood. And we saw that both in the example from Bangladesh and in the example from Turkey. So again, it is really very important that we embed these different platforms that are created within the broader systems, be the skills, be that employment policy, be that digital transformation policies. Now, a key element that I want to highlight here as well is that the report, as well as the presentation, emphasized that inclusion does not happen by itself. Inclusion has to happen by design, right? And very often we tend to think of women, of youth, of people with disability, of ethnic minorities, right, as these niche groups. But in reality, in many societies, these niche groups, really, they are the majority. Let's take the example of Bangladesh we just heard, right? We know that in Bangladesh alone, there are about 2 million young people entering the labor market every single year. So this is not a limited number of people. These are mega numbers. Women are half of our societies, right? So in other words, we need to start to stop thinking of these tiny groups, but we really need to think about scale, and we need to talk about also institutionalization where that is feasible, as some of the speakers earlier mentioned. So again, the key message here is that digital inclusion must be designed both for scale and for sustainability. A lot of the colleagues in our call today are from UNDP. So I think it's also very important for us to think a little bit in terms of how do we reflect these lessons learned is in terms of our programming, right, at the country level. And I think for me, probably one of the key takeaways is that digital transformation must serve people, right? It has to be in support of people, not the other way around. Not digital transformation for the sake of digital transformation, but how it will support people first. And we also saw how it can support businesses, but again, as a function of people, in terms of enabling these businesses to generate more and better jobs for people in society. A second element in terms of programming that I want to highlight is that, again, infrastructure is important. Policy coherence is very important, but training is equally important, right? So all these pieces need to be moving at the same time in support of digital livelihoods. One final message that I kept thinking of as the presentations were taking place is, yes, I talked quite a bit about systems right now, but not all contexts that we work with and in have strong systems already established. In many of these contexts, we might have been working for years to build these systems, and maybe we're not quite there yet, right? And I think this is where the comparative advantage of us as UNDP lies, in making these linkages beyond governments. Governments are key, and they are very important institutionalizing, but looking at other actors as well, like the private sector, like civil society, like communities, to build the digital ecosystems. So in other words, again, our comparative advantage is in bringing together all these different actors in support of digital livelihood. And maybe one final message that I intended to make earlier, but kind of evaded me, is I want to also emphasize the scale of the jobs issue that we have. I see this quoted statistic very often. In the next decade, we estimate about 1.2 billion people entering the labor market. Over the same time period, we estimate that around 400 million jobs are going to be created. That leaves a gap of about 800 million people. So the big question that we really need to unpack is, how can we use digitalization to A, support those that are at risk of being left behind, and there are many of those individuals across societies at risk of being left behind. And the second thing is, how do we use digitalization to enable the private sector to generate more jobs in quantities and better jobs in terms of quality? So these were some reflections that I had following the presentations. Tina, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Dinah. That was very thought-provoking. Over to you, Zulu.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I really appreciate the invitation that you have extended to the ILO to be part of this important discussion. It has really already a lot has been unfolded, especially Dejana has been providing a really good summary and a good, really looking forward perspective of how digital jobs and the digitalization of the economy of our societies is unfolding. And then, of course, we had very insightful presentations on very specific country level experiences where we could indeed observe different levels of intervention, at the very grassroots level, delivering to rural communities and specific groups of women or young people, while in other interventions, we heard the involvement of other actors that are part of this ecosystem, whether they are implementation partners of UNDP or other UN agencies, other actors that are providing training like Microsoft, government institutions, etc. So we see the different levels and the different layers that are kind of crossing through this digital transformation. perhaps what I would like to kind of do with my brief intervention is just to complement what what it has been already laid out by bringing some additional elements to the discussion table. Especially, I think that from the ILO, what we have been observing and trying to work on is on enabling an ecosystem that create synergies in between all these actors and all these initiatives. We do that through policy making, employment policy making, regulation of all these actors, especially one that is very particular, very sensitive, and that is taking place between this year. No, we started in June, and next year with the double standard setting discussion on how to regulate platform work. That's one of the important items in the ILO agenda. Very, very closely linked to decent work as a concept and to the inclusion, no, and a digital transformation that is indeed serving and not leaving anyone behind. Within that, I think at the heart of that, it's the intention of bringing labor and social protections to all these workers. We are also seeing a transformation of the concept of worker. It's not anymore this standard 8-hour job with one fixed employer, but we have been hearing from the different case studies that we learn from today and also from the JANA, referring to freelancers, micro workers, digital entrepreneurs, and all of them need to be, let's say, part of these regulatory frameworks and also linked to labor and social protections for a dignified and decent work. So this is what the ILO has been busy with. Developing also very recently, let me share with you the digital labor platform tracker, where we are observing how the conditions, the working conditions and the opportunities, also how governments are trying to create these pathways into jobs. I think that that's another area that the ILO is exploring, on how all these different types of digital work are kind of working together or coexisting together in the labor market, and we are trying to see how we can improve the services and the policies that are linking them together to offer better pathways and this sense of progression into the labor market. Sometimes the interventions that we have been observing as successful are those, especially for the very vulnerable groups or those ones who are farther away from the labor market, but still that using digital technology can make a living. Especially with UNDP, we have been working in serving refugees. I think this is a very difficult to serve group, and one that has been given the best results is to using some of the micro tasks and the most at hand entry job positions for them to start building skills, to start building networks, to still building confidence, to start entering in contact with the AI technology, for example, to start learning sometimes a new language, etc. So to just enter into the labor market, and from there starting to create some other pathways together with governments on how do we map labor demand and how do we help people to navigate these changes in the labor market. So let me soon I'm going to paste this link into the ILO Digital Labor Platform Tracker, where you can find an overview of how these initiatives, especially from the legislative point of view and the policy point of view are evolving in different countries and changing the ecosystem and the panorama of digital work, especially platform work. We have been working also with the Observatory on AI and work in the digital economy, a much larger, let's say, segment of the labor market of the types of jobs. And there are so many different entry points where you can that you can observe here, from the index of occupational exposure to digital device to also how AI is changing the labor market opportunities. And well, again, let me repeat in the discussion of the International Labour Conference that it took place this year and next June on the double standard setting for the regulation of platform work, which also kind of overlaps, and it's very difficult to establish a very specific line or frontier between pure digital labor platform work and other digital jobs, such as the ones that are called sometimes the gig economy. I think today, as of 2023, 2024, not by ILO, not ILO figures, but from the Inter-American Development Bank, 12% of the labor market was already belonging to gig economy jobs, so that you can see the extent of this phenomenon. Let me stop here, perhaps, because there are so many angles that we can explore, and maybe others want to chip in, and then I can come again and explore other angles of all this ecosystem.
Thanks so much, Zulum, for bringing in the angle of regulating platform work and some of the broader work that the ILO is engaged with. So we look forward to checking out the ILO Digital Labor Tracker. I will see two comments posted in the chat. Before I go to those, is there anybody who'd like to unmute and ask a question or make a comment at this time? Okay, I don't see anyone. So let me read out what we see here. So there are two questions. One by Yuko. She's asking if there are any findings related to crisis settings and recovery. Is crisis an opportunity to accelerate digital livelihood opportunities? Interesting. And Zulum also just mentioned about the work with refugees. So perhaps there's also something from the country level. I don't know, Saleh, if you have any insights. So do prepare to speak, colleagues, on this point. The second question here is about the concept of the future of work. Wondering if by focusing heavily on digitalization, are we narrowing down our understanding of what the future of work could look like more broadly conceived? And I think Diana spoke a little to this point, but I'll leave it open to whoever wants to take a stab of either of the two. Are there any takers?
Oh.
Go ahead, Saleh, and then Anna.
Okay, thank you for the question, Yoko. So, particularly not in a crisis setting, but you might all know that Bangladesh has went through a political transition in 2024. So the previous regime had been withdrawn by the youth, and most of the important thing that led them to go for this initiative is only because of the lack of jobs and their insufficiency of job market, particularly in that place and associated ecosystem. So after what we have seen, not particularly with this project, I have mentioned also about the future nation, that the ecosystem we have developed in collaboration with Grameenphone, a private sector company. So there also we have seen that after this crisis, the number of youth that has entered into this platform and that they are willing to take like different like courses, particularly in terms of coding, like AI driven those courses, those will have like demand in the next like couple of years. So the demand has risen, and what we had to do at some point of time, we had to like increase the bandwidth of the like portal as well. So that definitely crisis has some sort of linkage with digital livelihood, but I cannot give you exact like figures or the exam like numbers. But what I can say, like currently we have 160,000 registered university graduates from across the country in this Future Nation platform who are pursuing different like courses for different digital livelihood options. So I'll stop here, and I would like to hear from the other panelists as well.
Thanks a lot, Saleh. Anna and Dinah?
Thanks, Tina, and thank you, Yuko, for the question, because I think that this is really important element in digital livelihoods. We've seen really interesting examples of involving people into digital livelihoods, not only, as it was mentioned, among refugees, but also like internally displaced people and people living in conflict settings. And here I would like to highlight especially the work of UNHCR, together with the ILO, that has really great examples of work like this. And to answer specifically whether this can bring innovations and like foster innovations in digital livelihoods, what we see definitely is yes. At the same time, of course, there are specific constraints to scoping these programs. So yeah, yes, and like yes, but. So that would be my answer to this. Thank you.
Maybe I can come in very quickly on the second question. One of our colleagues was questioning whether we are narrowing the focus too much on the future of work, into, so in other words, the future of work definitely is a lot more broader than digitalization per se, and I'm very happy that you mentioned that. However, there is the focus on digitalization as it was presented here, but I think digitalization also impacts the other transitions that are happening in the labor market, be that the green transition when it comes to digital technologies that are being used, be that also in terms of care economies. Sometimes digitalization has a role to play. Urbanization. In other words, I see it affecting other transitions that are happening in the labor market beyond digitalization itself. So I think it really impacts anything from energy, from health, from agriculture, right? So it touches so many sectors of our lives and our economies that we really need to focus on digitalization. But yes, I fully agree that the future of work is way more than just digitalization, but it's an angle that is very important, and it does affect the world of work now and probably a lot more in the future as well. Thank you for that.
Thanks a lot. Are there any further questions or comments? Go ahead, Zulu.
Thank you. Actually, just to perhaps share a little bit of our experience on working on crisis settings. I think at first I would like to just share that the concept of crisis it's now evolving. No, we talk about mutually reinforcing crisis, at different levels, from depth, from the old crisis, from security, etc. One of the one that we have been collaborating very strongly with UNHCR, UNICEF, UNDP colleagues on attending is the refugee crisis and the displacement, internally displaced populations. We have a very large project that is funded by the Netherlands. It's called Prospects. It is about the inclusion and protection of refugees and also the host communities. And the approach of this project is to serve together those ones who are in displacement or in a refugee situation, but also the host community. So as you see, it's a kind of unified approach that avoids creating parallel systems for refugees and non-displaced populations, but rather uses the project as a vehicle to strengthen national systems. So this is a little bit the framework of the project. One of the also beauties of that is that we have been given the liberty to test a lot and to be innovative. So one of the areas that the donor let us work with is in exploring the gig and the platform economy and whether to test if this offers real job opportunities for these populations. We very quickly establish ourselves in 8 countries, but I had experience to work in Kenya, in Uganda, and Ethiopia very closely with governments. ILO normally has been working with the Ministry of Labor, our ever partner, but in the context of the digital economy, we have to learn to also involve other key partners from the government level. I see that UNDP is also very familiar and working with them, like the ministries of ITC, the ministries of technology, but many other partners. So what I want to kind of stress here is that what we see is working the most, especially for these specific setting areas, is to give some options to the youth in rural areas, both the host communities and the refugees. I think one beautiful experience we had, it's in Turkana, one of the remotest areas in Kenya, where there is no other option but to kind of herd animals. And what this initiative was doing is to bridging digital skills for and jobs for these people through remote work. And we kind of were very lucky to have on board the Ministry of Education. And for example, this initiative is now part of the Tibet curriculum for the country. So we were kind of working at different levels of skills, from entry-level jobs to medium, intermediary level of skills. And our next aspiration is to start working with professionals, with other partners that are currently onboarding doctors in remote job, for example, for imaginary scanning and annotation type of work that requires very specialized skills. Let me because on the interest of time, paste here the link to that project. There is a podcast and a series of podcasts collecting experience on the different interventions we have had there, helping these young people to navigate the challenges and also the opportunities of the labor market. Anyhow, this is very vast, and we could be speaking of many examples and many hours, but indeed, my message is that what we have seen working the most is when we are able to create a circuit of services for these people that brings the different elements together, skills, last mile services, logistics, access to to SIM cards, access to technology, access to the recognition of the skills that they are acquiring, access to public employment services or job matching platforms, which was one of the areas that you explored in your evaluation. So I think that if we create these circuits where people can circulate and find different solutions as they progress in the labor market, is when we are starting to get more sustainable progress, and also helping the national governments that are hosting these communities to be able to sustain services and create a sort of a balance between serving the refugees and also the host communities. Back to the floor. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Zulum, for sharing those thoughts, and also the info on prospects, which is a really important large initiative. I see that the chat has also some more resources for all of you to check out. A synthesis report and evaluation. There was more discussion on the question posed by Hugo around short-term interventions and long-term ecosystem building and the tension between those. So thank you all for actively participating in this webinar today. Thank you so much to our speakers, Anna, Saleh, Cem, Dinah, and Zulum. It's been really a pleasure hearing from all of you, learning from you, with you. And before we close this webinar, I would like to invite everybody to respond to the feedback form, if Yusuf could bring that up, so that we make sure we keep the reflections webinars coming and that they respond to the learning needs of colleagues. So please take a minute to click on the link. I believe there's a link. Anna, is there a link?
It will appear after the
All right,
webinar
okay,
ends.
I have to stop talking. All right then. So with that, let me wish everybody a great rest of the day. And when we log out, you'll be able to see the poll right there. Thanks again to our speakers. Thank you to participants, and take good care. Bye-bye.